Okay, so now that we have practiced turning words into sentences, into algebraic expressions, now I'm going to give you some problems. So we're going to write our first two algebraic expressions using patterns. So here's in a situation, Taya won some money in a competition. She has two choices as to how she gets paid. Remember, there are 52 weeks in a year. So in choice number one, you get $20 per week for 1 year. And then in choice number two, you get $400 now. There should be a dollar sign there. And plus $12 per week for 1 year. So in choice number one, $20 per week for 1 year. So if there's 52 weeks in 1 year, I'm going to take $20 and I'm going to times it by 52. Now when I do that, I should get 1,040. Now use your calculator. Sorry, my throat's a little itchy. In choice number two, I get $400 now, so right up front. And then I get, plus, there's my keyword, $12 per week. So $12 for each week, and we have 52 weeks. Now I believe when you calculate this, you get 1,024. Okay, but use your calculators. Remember, we do the order of operations. We do this first, and then we do addition. So which method would pay Taya more money? Well, obviously choice one. And it says explain. Well, we explained it mathematically. We showed. And then why might Taya choose the method that pays less? Well, there's a whole bunch of different reasons. I might want to treat myself. So buy an Xbox or go to the mall and buy some clothes or whatever. But I might want to treat myself and then get paid $12 per week. Because really, the additional money I'd be making is $16, right? So if I subtract this, it's just an extra 16. And even though that's a lot of money, you might want to treat yourself. So there's a few different reasons why. However, we're going to use choice number one and we're going to create our first algebraic expression. So in choice number one, it was $20 per week. So remember, after week one, if I take 20 and I times it by 1, I get $20. If it's after 2 weeks, how much money does she make? Well, I'm going to take 20 and I'm going to times it by 2. If it's 3 weeks, I'm going to take $20 and I'm going to times it by 3. Do you see the pattern? If it's 6 weeks now, I'm going to actually take 20 and I'm going to times it by 6. Okay? So really, all I'm doing is taking the number of weeks, so the number of weeks, and I'm multiplying by 20. That's all I'm doing, $20, to give me the amount of money that she would receive. Okay? Now, I don't want to write a word. I'm just going to give it a variable. So I'm going to say W times 20. And another way I can write that is 20W. Remember, we're going to try to get rid of the multiplication sign this year. If you still need it, if it's still your friend, use it. But we're going to try to get rid of it this year. Okay? So there's your first algebraic expression. Now let's do for choice two. This one's a little bit tougher because remember it was $400 up front and then $12 per week. Okay, so it's going to be 400. Remember, we're trying to find how much money after week one. So 400 plus 12 times 1. And that'll give us 412. Now there's different ways you can do week two, but I'm going to use the pattern. So I'm going to go 400 plus 12 times 2. And week three, I'm going to say 400 plus 12 times how many weeks? So we're in week 3. And after 6 weeks, 12 times 6. And I believe we get 472. Okay. So really all I'm doing is I'm taking $400 and I'm adding 12 times the number of weeks. And that'll give me like I don't have to do a pattern to figure it out. I can just use the number of weeks and plug it into this formula, and then I'll know how much you get. Not formula, algebraic expression. So instead of writing the word weeks, I'm actually going to give it a variable. And I'm going to get rid of the multiplication sign. So there's your second algebraic expression. We're going to practice that throughout lesson 3, lesson 4, lesson 5, and lesson 6. However, we have to learn one more concept, and we're going to learn how to evaluate expressions. In order to do that, we have to review the order of operations. So we must multiply and divide from left to right first, okay? And remember, it's from left to right. So if divide is before multiplication, then you do division first. If multiply is before division, then we multiply first. It's like reading a book, left to right. And then add and subtract from left to right. And of course, we do brackets first if there's brackets. I really should add that in, hey? Okay, so let's do a few. Now I'm going to show you a couple different methods. Some teachers teach the funnel method, which is awesome. However, I'm going to show you a tray method. So I'm going to put a tray right underneath what the operation that I'm going to do first. So I'm going to do multiplication before addition. Now everything outside the tray just drops. And then everything inside the tray gets replaced with one number. Okay. So I don't do anything. I drop those to my next step. Everything outside drops, and then everything inside the tray gets replaced by one number. And then we do the same thing. So it's kind of like your funnel method. Now some girls like, or some students, typically girls, like highlighters. So if you like a highlighter, the only thing is that if you do a step wrong, you're going to have to like rewrite the expression because you can't erase a highlighter where you can erase a pencil. So we have to do brackets before we do subtraction and division. So we're going to go 14 minus 5, which is 9. And then everything that's not highlighted gets dropped. Okay, so everything that's not highlighted gets dropped to the next step in that order. Sometimes I have some students that switch the order around. You can't switch the order. Okay, so that's my next step because we're still dealing with brackets. So everything that's not highlighted gets dropped to the next step. And then we're going to replace what's highlighted with the operation. So not with the operation, with the answer of the operation. So 9 minus 6 is 3. And then if you need to highlight that, that's fine. If not, you know there's only one step left. So 3. Okay, so I don't care which method, but when you do the tray method, make sure it's a tray. Don't just put a line because that can be confused with division later on. So make sure it's a tray and make sure you know that we're not going to confuse ourselves later. Okay, so I'm going to do the 2 different techniques in this one. So if you like the highlighter, we know we do brackets first. So we're going to go 3 plus 6. Again, don't change the order. All we're doing is we're replacing what's highlighted with the answer. So 5 plus 4 is equal to 9. Everything else drops. That's a division and a subtraction. Okay, and then I'm going to use the tray method. So this comes first because we do multiplication and division from left to right. So since multiply is first in our sentence, then we do it first. So everything outside the tray gets dropped. So 3 plus 54 divided by 3 minus 7. Everything else gets dropped that's not in the tray, in the order. Okay. And then we do division next. I'm going to use the highlighter method. Okay. So 3 plus 54 divided by 3 is 18. And now we add and subtract from left to right. So 3 plus 18 is 21, minus 7 is 14. And we did it. So it doesn't matter what method you choose. It Doesn't matter what method you choose, as long as you're successful in your answer. So now what we're going to do is we're going to use order of operations to help us evaluate expressions. Now expressions don't have equations. There's no equation sign. So an equation has an equal sign and expressions don't. So no equal sign, do not have, okay? So what we do when we evaluate an expression, remember I said that the variable is a letter that represents a number? I'm going to tell you what that number is now, okay? And we're going to substitute that number in for the variable. Big word is to use that word substitute. So I'm going to give you notes. So I want you to write everything down in your workbook. I'm going to give you notes, and I'm going to teach you with an example. So the example says evaluate the expression 2a minus 5 when a is equal to 7. So we always start with the expression. Okay, so write everything down. Then what we're going to do is we're going to substitute the value of 7 into the variable a. So if you don't like this, if you don't like the brackets, what this actually means is 2 times, we're going to take the a out, we're going to put the 7 in, substitute minus 7, because that's what that means. 2 times some number minus 5. If I said 5, if I said 7, my apologies. Okay? And now after I substitute, I'm going to use the order of operations to calculate. So I do my order first. So I'm going to do my multiplication. 2 times 7 is 14 minus 5, and I get an answer of 9. So let's try these. So we start with the expression. Uh-oh, I lost my pen. Oh, there we go. Sorry, let me just erase that. Okay. So we start with the expression, and this is 5 times some number subtract 4. And now I'm saying that that number is 7. So 5 times 7 minus 4. So we substitute the number, and then we do our order of operations. Okay. We start with our expression. 12 minus p, some number. I'm telling you the number is 14. So we take the p out. We put the 14 in. So we substitute the number in for the variable. And then we evaluate. Start with the expression. We substitute. Take the variable out. Put the number in. Substitute. This says 12 divided by 3. It's another way of saying division. And we get 4. So now we're into assigned work. Remember, everyone does these. Those students who are going for honors are doing 10B, C, and F.